Good afternoon, everybody. It's 1 o'clock. I know we've got a busy day and multiple meetings, so we're going to go on and get started. I'm going to ask Representative Laricchia if he would open us in a word of prayer.
All right, let's pray. Lord, we love you. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the precious gift of life. Just guide and direct us in all that we do, that it would benefit this state and bring glory to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. All right, today we've got a few measures that we're going to take care of. As I said, I know everybody's got other meetings and stuff, so we're going to try to keep the meeting streamlined if possible. First up on the agenda is House Bill 1349. Representative Ridley, what number 23 is your microphone? House Bill 1349. Go ahead, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got House Bill 1349, and if you're looking, it's LC 510090. This bill don't do a whole lot, but as by the emails that we've all got, y'all can see how important it is, Mr. Chairman. I think we're somewhere around about 2,000 emails now, and that ought to show you how active our hunters and our people are in the state of Georgia, and how many of them we got just off of one bill. But all this bill does, if you look down on line 15, it changes the date from July the 1st of 2005 to July the 1st of 2022. And what this bill does is this preserves our hunting property and keeps basically the federal government coming in and taking it over. This is state property that we own or lease, and this is going to continue that out for all our hunters and fishermen to be able to enjoy. And that's the bill. And I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. I know we may have a few questions, but I just want to say this. I think, as you all can see by the emails that we've gotten, how passionate our hunting and fishing community is, and it's the heritage here that many of us grew up on that's very important to us, our families, our family traditions, and things, basically a way of life. I know we were sitting in my office the other day and we found some old numbers. Hopefully we're going to have some new numbers, but a lot of people don't realize this, but the hunters and fishermen and outdoorsmen in the state of Georgia represent $4.3 million a day in revenue to the state of Georgia. So, and those are old numbers. We don't have the current numbers we're trying to get, but I just think that proves and shows that we're a vital part in this state, in the economy, and really just across the whole state, for economic to just keeping people sane, being outdoors, doing things. So we have a question. Who is is it Representative Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To your point, I guess folks should have checked with former Governor Perdue, who in 2004 supported a bill to basically eliminate deer dog hunting in Georgia, and everything happened except for full insurrection, and I've never seen a bill so completely defeated and taken apart in my life, because hunters were up here all out on the lawn. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. I was here at the time, and you can still see my video on YouTube speaking about hunting dogs. But my question is, and I understand what the gentleman explained, but under current law, federal, state law, what state law can prevent the federal government, if they saw fit, from getting a piece of land?
Well, I think you still got a little thing called state rights, but...
Well, no, I'm just talking about federal law now.
Oh, federal law coming in and taking it?
Yes.
I guess I would be guessing. And
Yes,
I guess the correct answer I need to give is I don't know.
Okay.
But I would suspect that I guess federal law could actually come in and take anything that they wanted to. But it might look more like what you were talking about you seen back in 04 whenever. But I'd refer that to, is there anybody?
Representative Williams, I can just tell you it would be a tall task if they came in and tried to take our rights to hunt and fish on those lands. That's all. I'm going to leave it at that.
No, I'm not talking
Yes,
about
sir.
the hunting and fishing. I was just talking about the lands itself. I understand what you're saying, and I think it's a good bill, but I think all of us can understand this bill needs to be explained real well, because it's misunderstood based on those emails.
I I agree, a few of the emails, but I think most of the emails were please pass, please pass, please pass, at least the majority of the ones I've got. Let's go on to another question, number 12. Is that Representative Chairman Tarvin?
Yeah, just a quick statement. I guess that gets down to if you look at what constitutional law or what the Supreme Court said about what the federal government can do.
That's correct. The right to hunt and fish, correct. Who's 27? Is that Chairman Corbett?
As an avid hunter and fisherman and a co-signer of this bill, at the proper time, I'd like to make a motion to pass.
Okay, what is the will of the, do I have a second? Okay, is there any other discussion? Thoughts? Okay, hold on. Would you 20, 21?
And Representative, I'd like to thank you for the bill, but if I have 1,016 emails again, I'll vote no matter how much I love a bill. This was a nightmare this weekend, but I do appreciate the bill, but I want you to personally
You might
hear
want to
that
appreciate
over
all those 1,016 people that vote for us taking the time to send those emails to us.
That's it.
All right, we've got a motion and we've got a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Bill passes unanimously. All right, so we've got on to the second measure. We've got House Bill 158. We're having a hearing. Representative Clint Crow. House Bill 158. I think I just turned your mic on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Back with you with House Bill 158. We've got a substitute now. We're working off LC 393170S. And some of the changes, so the purpose of the bill and the idea behind the measure is to try to help make boating safer in the state of Georgia. I and many of the other people who signed on to this bill live on lakes. I've lived on Jackson Lake my entire life, been boating and fishing on the lake, as long as I can remember. And we've got, it seems now that we've got an influx of folks coming there who live around that area, moved to areas surrounding the community, who will go buy a boat. They've moved up in life, maybe got a new job, got a little extra money. They buy them a boat and decide to come to the lake and bring all their friends, and they've never driven a boat or operated a boat or known anybody who operated a boat in their entire life, and it gets very unsafe. So the idea behind the measure is to try to at least get some of these folks some education who've never operated a boat. There's been some discussions and debate on how best to do that. That's the goal of it. But at the same time, I don't want to do anything to make it too onerous on the Department of Natural Resources and our game wardens. We want to have a measure that makes a difference and makes it safer to boat, but doesn't make it something that they're unable to enforce. And so through several discussions, one of the substitutes or one of the changes that we came up with on line 15, it now says owner after January 1st, 2023. Any individual purchasing and registering a vessel for the first time shall complete a boating education course approved by the department prior to operating the vessel. Department shall notify any individual who registers a vessel for the first time as indicated in the department's active electronic registration system of this requirement. And the reason that language was chosen, the individual purchasing and registering a vessel for the first time, is through some discussions. Many folks like me grew up driving boats that belonged to our parents, and we may have been driving a boat for 20, 30 years, but have never had a boat registered to us. And so if you inherited a boat, that wouldn't necessarily apply as for those purchasing and registering a vessel. If you're inheriting a boat from a relative, then the idea stands to reason that you would have been operating a boat and had some experience with the boat. So that was the reason for the change. So some updated statistics. The U.S. Coast Guard's 2020 recreational boating statistics, Georgia logged 107 accidents in 2020. 10 involved fatalities and caused 11 deaths. 54 involved non-fatal injuries, including 90 boaters, and 43 of the accidents caused damages totaling $770,737.74. Boating education, studies have shown that states that have a mandatory boating education in place for at least 20 years have an average of 3.89 fatalities per 100,000 registered boats. By comparison, states that have no mandatory boating education requirements have an average of 12.28 fatalities per 100,000 registered boats. And in 2020, Georgia had 330,270 registered boats. And with that, I'll yield for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to say this. I know growing up on a lake, I too share your sentiment. I'd love to come up with something that can work and will work, because I know, as we've all seen that live on through the pandemic, really got really crowded and crazy on our lakes, and boats seem to be getting bigger and bigger, and and all that good stuff, and so I will listen to try to come up with something that the department feels they could enforce. So
Yes.
I
And
agree.
this has been
Something needs to be done, and hopefully we can find something.
Yeah, and I would like to say it's been a great collaboration with you and other folks on the committee and the department too, because it's like I said, trying to make sure that we find something that works and makes a difference, but we certainly don't want to make their job any harder with the Department of
That is
Natural
correct. We're
Resources.
shorthanded over there right now, and we don't need to make their job easier and more harder than it already is.
Yes, sir.
We've got some questions right here. Number 17, is that Representative Byrd?
Thank you very much for the bill.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember this bill from last session, if I
Yes.
remember correctly. Yes, and one of my concerns was about those boat clubs.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have to go through those education classes as well, and that would be correct, yes? Is that,
It
Well-
is, and I do believe, I know Lake Oconee has the Freedom Boat Club, I think, down there, and I'm pretty sure they have to come in and take the course before they're authorized to go on the water. So I think they do have to take a course.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they do.
and I have a couple of other questions. So when you're talking about owning a boat and then it's handed down, as in grandfathered, how would someone know whether you're grandfathered in for a boat or not? I mean, if you're stopped out on the water, I mean, do you carry a specific kind of license that says you're grandfathered in and you don't have to have the education class?
Well, this would be when you're registering the boat, is when it's going to be required. And so they will know when you're registering it if you've purchased that vehicle, that vessel. If you've inherited it, then you wouldn't have a purchase registration. You'd just be transferring ownership to it. And so this is going to be, and that's part of the challenge, is trying to figure out a way to trigger that for DNR. To know, okay, how are we going to word this to where, we're not requiring somebody who's been operating a boat their entire life to have to go through training, but we're also not doing something that is going to require DNR to have to add extra personnel and a lot of man hours to try to enforce or figure out who's required and not. But this was the latest way that we looked at to try to get that. Achieved, to just have it required. When somebody purchases a vessel and it shows they're registering a vessel that has been purchased and they're registering for the first time as a vessel owner, and that vessel is newly purchased, whether used or new, but they've just purchased it from someone else, then that would require them to have that education.
And then one last question, please. Then how would this also be enforced? So if you happen to be stopped on the lake in your boat to find out if in fact you have had the education class or not, I mean, are you going to carry a specific sort of license to state that you've gone through the course?
No, ma'am, there wouldn't be a licensing aspect as I understand it. It would just be a requirement to register your vehicle, to register your vessel, sorry. That in order to register this vessel, that's going to be a requirement that you're going to have to complete that education course. So if you've got if your vessel is registered and you met those criteria, then if you have a valid registration, then you'll be good.
I'm sorry, I need to
No, go ahead.
follow up. Yep. So when you get your license to drive a boat, then it would have some sort of special thing on there, like a number or a code, or you tell me, please.
There would not be a boat license. No, ma'am. And I believe that was a concern of Representative Ridley's back during last year when we were going through this. There is no boating license. It's a education requirement for registration of the boat, not a license for the individual operator.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. And I think that's a few of the concerns that we had with some of the kinks that were in it that we're maybe can work through one day. We'll see.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Question number 27, Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this would be sort of like a hunter safety card, like anybody born after 1962 has to take a hunter safety course before they can get their hunting license. Is that the whole
Similar,
something like that?
yes, sir, except it wouldn't apply, it wouldn't be a card that they would necessarily carry on them, but it would be a requirement for them to have done to register their vessel.
Thank you.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Representative, for the bill.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's a good bill. I have confidence that the chairman's going to figure out a way to make it workable, but I do see this. Mm-hmm. You state accidents and deaths. Mm-hmm. It's a problem. It's not going to get any better because we're still growing. So we can either avoid it and people continue to die or be maimed. Secondly, it might be a good case for us to look and see, are we properly funding the HR? And if they need more people, then we need to look at that because, there's some value to human life and destruction. And we might need to look at that, but I can't see a problem. And from a technological standpoint, my sheriff's office just got a bunch of new vehicles. It's got all these doohickeys on it, but they just pass you. Then we have to stop you and know whether you're registered and everything. Mm-hmm. So DHR can do the same thing. They can probably do more work with the same people with the proper equipment. We might need to look at that. But folks shouldn't be offended if you require them to at least be qualified to operate watercraft. I might one day want to come on Lake Jackson and I don't want no sobbing and crying because I made the trip. So I hope, Mr. Chairman, you can work it out because something looks like it has to be done about it. And then this might be a good opportunity for them to get some more rangers and some more funding. We spent a lot of money on a lot of things this year. This might be a good time.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Representative Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me ask you a couple questions, and I understand what you're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
Before I came here, I was blessed to fish about every lake you could, so all the lakes in Georgia, Alabama, Minnesota, everywhere, and had sponsors, and the boat sponsor and Mercury Outboard, et cetera. With these, every 2 years, would I have to do this test continuously? So once I do it once I take the test, is there going to be like a star on it that shows I took a test, or is that something?
That's part of the discussions with DNR is how we're going to be able to track that. Again, the idea is simple. The implementation has turned out to be a little more difficult.
Right.
I think everybody agrees with the premise of the idea, that we want to have safer boaters, and that if somebody is going to go out and operate on our lake a lot, a 24-foot, $150,000 wakeboard boat with 15 people in it, and they've never driven a boat in their life, that's probably not a great idea.
I agree.
But the implementation has been a little difficult. And that's what we've been talking continuously for the last year.
Right.
Trying to figure out a way to make it more feasible. But the idea now is that, yes, sir, they would take the training. It would be a training course, and it would be set up very similarly to the hunter's education course. It's more of a familiarization.
Like going on the computer,
yes,
basically, if we're in Florida and we rent a boat, you go on a computer and you just answer questions, how to take over, how to pass, proper lanes. Because you're right, the critical part now are these people that should be on the ocean that are coming on Lake Lanier, my home lake, and you'll watch a 80-footer come by you, and they, have no clue where they're going, and there's a parked pontoon boat over here, and then there's a little guy out in a john boat.
Right.
And that's the same thing on most lakes you're seeing. And, here's these wakeboard boats that it is not really fun to watch them anymore because they're very dangerous. And there is something, I like the idea. I think we need to kind of craft it a little bit more. But there's no cost. You just go online and take the test, right?
There would be, I believe there would be some, there are some places out there that offer some free or really inexpensive training courses
Okay.
for this, just like the hunter safety course. So it would be very similar to that. The idea is basically the same. Hunter safety course, boater safety course. That's the idea. It's the enforceability that we've run into an issue with of how do we know, with the hunter safety course, you get a card.
Well, I think on your registration, you could put a star, put something just simple that could prove that you had that when they asked for your license registration. They could look at it and immediately see something like that. And one of the last questions, and I apologize, but this is something I take still real serious, is if you're getting the boat every 2 years, that means you're not going to, every time you register that boat, I've had a boat since I was 8 years old. And with that, my dad taught me proper boating. And then I've taken a couple of these online tests just because it required it wherever. And it didn't take me but 15 minutes.
Right.
And I understand, and I want to work toward that path. I just want to make sure that we don't have government stepping in to do some of the stupid things we do. And
Right.
that's the only reason I'm asking the question. But thank you again, and I do appreciate your indulgence.
Yeah, thank you.
Chairman Tarver.
I didn't bring a pen with me, and it's been so long I forgot what I was going to ask. But the second happiest day of my life was when I got a bass boat, and the happiest day is the day I sold it.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to have a flat bottom boat. Used to be a canoe, but I can't get in one now. I don't know. Question. Clarification, what is a motorized vessel? Is there a flat bottom boat, if I'm going to go run some traps and have me a little 3 horsepower on it, what's a motorized vessel? And number 2, the waterways of the state of Georgia, would that be all water in the state of Georgia, I think?
Those are defined elsewhere in the code, and I'm sorry, I don't have the definitions of those in front of me. The motorized vessel, though, as I understand it, would be if your flat bottom boat has a motor on it, that would be a motorized vessel.
No, I agree.
Not your canoe.
I think it. Excuse me. I want you to answer, but I think it's a little bit. Could also be a electric motor, a trolling motor. So we need to look at this pretty close. And I understand the purpose. And if you're 25, it'd be like them raccoons. If you're 25, you won't ever have to do this. There's a cutoff date there, on the 25 and 24. But I fully understand. And old people get killed in boats too. So it's something that needs to be addressed. But I got some problems with the motorized vehicle description and the waterways of Georgia, and some people say that's a cow hoof print with water in it in this country. Believe that water belongs to somebody besides me.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Laricchia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Somebody asked me, I guess it was a week ago now, about whether or not I like this bill, and I said, nope, but I like Clint Crow. And so I'm going to give every bill that comes before me or committees that I represent or serve on the full attention that they deserve, and the members that bring them. I say all that to say, been fishing my whole life. I don't have the exemplary experience and money invested in it that Donahue has, but I have a problem with almost all of the bill as it relates to how do you get the what does that education entail? What size vessel? I mean, most of my boats up until probably recently were just really small boats with 9.5s and 20 horse motors and those kind of things, stick steering, and one might have a steering wheel, one might be stick steering. Some of them are the old tiller. There's all these different types of vessels, and and to achieve what I think it is that you hope to achieve in reducing, there's a lot to talk about because here's what you're going to invite into this equation as lawyers. Somebody has an accident, didn't have the little online course, and they're grossly negligent. And then there's you another million, and Ken Nugent's wanting another call. And so I think I completely see your intent. One of my best friends, Ron Lewis, his dad, 2 years ago down at Apalachicola. That man has fished down there for 50 years. He looked down in the bottom of the boat for just, his wife said, maybe 10 seconds, trying to chase something around in the boat. When he bent over, that boat turned to the right, hit a cypress knee. They went up in the cypress trees, killed him instantly. Almost killed her. Been driving a boat 50 years. I say that to say these statistics you bring about accidents. I know that on Lake Oconee, was it last year, they had a young man sitting out on the bow of a wake boat. It sucked him under there and just turned him inside out when that propeller sucked him in. That little course don't fix that.
Right.
That's an idiot. And I'd about bet everything in all 8 years of experience I got up here that you can't legislate idiots. That we work through this very, very carefully. My boy, when he goes with me, I let him drive our boat. I try to teach him all of that. I totally see what you're trying to do, but I would be very hesitant to vote until I saw all the details of what it means to get to where you hope to be with the bill. And I trust that that's kind of what you're looking to try to do.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Thank you, sir. 27, is that
Yeah.
Chairman Corbett?
One further question, Mr. Chairman. I fish a lot with my friend, Mr. Laricchia. And he has trouble controlling the back, the boat. He seems like the front of the boat stays where the fish are.
Right.
Now, if we pass this bill, will that help him steer the boat better, where I can reach where the fish are biting?
We could certainly try to include some extra training in the course for that.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
he will need a extra training for sure.
We might can build him some fines for that. Yeah. All right.
You know, I
Look,
do
just
my
real
dead
quick.
level best to keep him in the fish, but all that hot air coming out of both ends in the back of the boat keeps it blowed out away from the bank where he can't catch it.
Is there any other means or points of discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Ms. Representative Crowe, thank you,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
we'll continue the talks, and meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Al, you didn't have any comments.